Our big focus, the US Federal Reserve slashed interest rates by 0.5 percentage point in its first cut since 2020. Now, the aggressive cut signaled that the central bank, having largely won the battle against inflation, wanted to act boldly to keep the labour market from slowing too much, following weaker than expected August jobs data. The half-point move paves the way for lower borrowing costs on everything from mortgages to credit cards. It marks a crucial milestone for the central bank's historic inflation fight, which kept rates at a bruising 23-year high for more than a year. Listen to what Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, had to say.
Today, the Federal Open Market Committee decided to reduce the degree of policy restraint by lowering our policy interest rate by 0.5 percentage point. This decision reflects our growing confidence that with an appropriate recalibration of our policy stance, strength in the labor market can be maintained in a context of moderate growth and inflation moving sustainably down to 2%.
And joining us to understand the larger ramifications better, Girija Pandey, who needs no introduction. Thank you so much, sir, as always, for making time for us. Now, the decision to cut by 0.5 point, do you agree that it telegraphs to the world that central bankers feel a sense of urgency to provide the US economy with swift relief from elevated borrowing costs, considering there were blaring calls in recent days for the Fed to kick off the rate-cutting cycle with a bang?
I think it's certainly a very bold move. I don't think the market was that clear that it would be 25 or 50 basis points, but it just shows that they are now worried about unemployment. The focus has shifted from inflation to unemployment levels. And I think that's what has prompted the Fed to balance this equation very quickly. I think earlier they were little behind the curve when they were raising rates. They don't want to be caught lowering the rate and being behind the curve. So you can see that they have actually moved quite boldly and quite fast.
Sir, do you endorse the central bank's move? Also sounds the all clear to banks in countries like India and South Korea, which did not want to lower rates before the Fed over worries it would weaken their national currencies?
Well, that's true. You have a gradual reduction we are seeing across inflation across countries. The oil price is down in nearly 20%. And that will, especially in the oil importing countries, that will be useful. So I think everyone will see that, well, with the US inflation rates coming closer to 2%, globally, we have already seen rate cuts in Europe. We have seen rate cuts in Canada and UK. So the Asian central banks have to follow suit. And they are expected to follow suit. Now, when they would do it, they will also look at their own inflation numbers. But I certainly think that with the gradual slowing of inflation in the US and in the global commodity prices, there is a good chance of rate cuts everywhere else.
In terms of sectoral impacts, though, sir, certain sectors are poised to benefit directly from the Fed's rate cut, many argue, like the information technology sector, for example. Is it likely to see increased demand as US corporations expand their IT budgets due to reduced borrowing costs?
Well, the big sectors which will benefit by it is, of course, the financial sector and the mortgages, and as you said earlier. But yes, the IT services business and the IT technology budgets will certainly be a little more relaxed. There is no doubt about that. But remember, I think there is a fear of recession also, because that is one of the reasons why this was such a larger cut than what we expected. So which way does the economy go is got to be seen. What is more important is what is the rate cut path, the path to further rate cuts. They are already expecting another 1% down the line. And so I think that is as important to see which way the economy will react and the response to this rate cut. But if the economy is as bullish as it is at the moment, especially the American economy, then yes, the budgets will be more liberal.
Well, the RBI's response on home ground to the Fed's actions will be crucial. Historically, India monetary policy has been influenced by US rates. However, our RBI governor has already signaled that India is not compelled to follow suit and reduce its own rates, as you've also emphasized, sir. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us with your perspective.
Thank you very much.
In other crucial news, a day after pager blasts that killed at least 12 people in Lebanon, multiple blasts rocked the country again as hundreds of walkie-talkies exploded. Everyone who has a lithium battery communication device has been asked by authorities there to turn them off immediately. But without commenting on the explosions, Israel's defense minister acknowledged a new phase in the war, with the country's military efforts moving to the north. But while Israel's technical prowess may have humiliated Hezbollah, so far the attacks have not altered the military balance along the Israeli-Lebanese border. This is something many geopolitical analysts are arguing even now. In fact, as per experts, this has also frustrated the United States by threatening to derail Gaza ceasefire negotiations. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali has been tracking the finer details for us. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, in fact, Russia's foreign ministry has said that the attack on Hezbollah members in Lebanon using these explosives was deliberately intended to provoke a major war in the Middle East. Take us through where things stand at the moment.
See, many war experts or Middle East watchers are claiming that perhaps this is from Israeli style book, where they attack and they call it a preemptive strike. They did it back in multiple wars when they had it with Arab nations, especially in 1967, that before even the Arab countries could attack, they destroyed all the aircrafts of Egypt in the Six-Day War. Similarly here, there have been threats from Hezbollah who have been firing rockets into Israel, and perhaps after keeping a lull for so many months, and despite all the persuasion from US to not go for a full-blown war, Israel has launched this pager and now walkie-talkie explosions in Lebanon. And yesterday, the explosions have led to killing of around 20 people and more than 400 people have been injured as per the health ministry of Lebanon. Now, where do things stand as of now? The US has been claiming that it is trying for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza zone. But what is happening on the northern border of Israel is very concerning, because there are reports and visuals which claim that perhaps Israel is also moving its troop on the northern border, and perhaps the ploy is to inflict maximum damage on Hezbollah in a message that it stay away from the Hamas-Israel war. And also, if things escalate, Israel can also go for a ground invasion, because Hezbollah has been weakened, considerably weakened, due to this extraordinary military operation by not even sending one person into Lebanon and yet managing to sort of injure more than 1,000 Hezbollah operators who all were using the pagers. But the bigger concern for Lebanon right now is that it appears that not only pagers, but multiple electronic devices which were shipped to Lebanon have been tampered with. And that is why in yesterday's explosion, it was not just walkie-talkie as reported by multiple agencies, but also other electronic appliances in Lebanon have exploded, be it the home solar appliances or even mobile phones, laptops have also exploded in multiple areas. So that's a bigger concern right now for Lebanon as well as for Hezbollah. And Hezbollah chief, Mr. Nasrallah, is also expected to address the nation today. So perhaps if Israel continues with its military operation, there is a very likelihood of escalation on the northern border as well.
In other news, the United Nations General Assembly has overwhelmingly adopted a resolution calling on Israel to end its illegal occupation of the Palestinian territories within a year, a move that Palestinians hailed as historic. The non-binding measure passed a 124-12 vote on Wednesday, with 43 countries abstaining. The UNGA demanded that Israel brings to an end without delay its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory, which constitutes a wrongful act of a continuing character, entailing its international responsibility, and do so no later than 12 months. In fact, it also called on Israel to make preparations and to actually make reparations as well for Palestinians for all the damages that have been incurred by the occupation. In other news now, Iranian hackers distributed hacked information about Donald Trump's electoral campaign to people linked to the Biden campaign, according to the FBI and US intelligence agencies. US officials now believe that information taken from the Trump campaign was sent in unsolicited emails to people linked to the campaign in late June and early July, before Biden dropped out of the race for president. There's currently no evidence that the hackers received any reply from any recipients, but in August, officials warned that Iran hopes to stoke discord and undermine confidence in US institutions ahead of the November showdown. US officials said that Iran had used social engineering and other efforts to seek out direct access to both the Democratic and Republican campaigns, a tactic they said had been used by both Iran and Russia in other countries around the world. And an update from the White House, while representatives for former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris's transition teams met for the first time at the White House, the Biden administration announced, as the outgoing administration plans to smooth the handoff to whoever wins in November. Chief of Staff Jeffrey Zients hosted a meeting on Tuesday of the White House Transition Coordinating Committee, the government's senior-most transition planning group, and for the first time this year included Harris and Trump's aides. Let's get you a quick update from Canada now, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party has lost a crucial parliament seat in a special election in Montreal. This is a defeat likely to put more pressure on the Canadian leader to quit. The narrow loss in Montreal's federal electoral is the second such defeat in 3 months for Trudeau's minority Liberal government. Now, with all the votes counted, Liberal candidate Laura Palestini came second. And in his 9th year as the Prime Minister, Trudeau's approval rate has actually plummeted from 63% when he was first elected to 28% in June of this year, according to one poll tracker. Opinion polls, meanwhile, suggest the Liberals are on track to lose the next election to the Conservatives, the current official opposition in Canada's Parliament. Well, news and updates continue in a moment, right after this very short break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. A Pakistan High Court on Wednesday restrained a trial court from delivering its verdict in the Al-Qadir Trust corruption case involving former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Bibi. Meanwhile, Imran Khan on X has posted, "I urge my nation to come out for the Lahore Jalsa on Saturday with unwavering resolve and commitment." He has further added on X, "Resistance against this illegitimate government is a responsibility that every conscientious citizen must undertake. This is a battle for the survival of our future generations." These are the words of Imran Khan on X. Well, as always, news and updates continue on NDTV 24/7. Thank you so much for watching.